Hello, my name is Roman Gingiashvili, and this is highly unusual video, unusual from all others, different from all other videos we have made. And the reason why it's unusual, because what we're covering here, one of the most controversial and most popular opening variations, maybe in the last half a century, Najdorf Sicilian. Najdorf Sicilian is so well explored there. Some variations are known up to like 30 moves. And nevertheless, what's amazing is that game collection I have for you is played in the last several months. They were played in a very, very high level. So some only IMs or GMs. And you see there are still some tactical possibilities that were missed by one side or the other right after the opening. The second the opening ends, there is some missed opportunities. And that does not surprise me. That shows how rich is the opening with all kind of tactical resources for both sides. The collection I found is, I knew how rich was the Najdorf Sicilian. But when I looked the games, I've been collecting this for a few months, and it amazed me how many possibilities. I knew there were a lot, but I was amazed myself how much is a lot. And I will present you few of them. So let's look. E4, C5, it's a first game. The interesting point I want to make, first game was played between Michael Brooks, International Master, and Julio Becerra, Grandmaster. Knight F3, D6, D4, CD, Knight takes D4, Knight F6, Knight C3, A6. In this position, White plays move that was popular maybe 10 years ago, but not anymore, F4. It's a very playable move, and the most popular response to this is E5, which was not played. E6 was played. It is also an option that Black always has, and on Bishop E2, Knight C6, Bishop E3, we get type of Scheveningen variation. Castling, King H1, all regular moves, typical moves of the Sicilian defense. And in this particular game, what's amazing is how quickly Black got in trouble. It's move 11. This position happened, I imagine, is at least several thousand times. And in this position, Black made a move, not very successful, not very good move, Rook C8. Now, you can ask me why Rook C8 is not a good move. The reason why Rook C8 is not a very good move is this. We have typical position for Sicilian, and Rook C8 is a typical move, one of the standard moves. But in this particular case, Black has to untangle the knights and bishops. They are all in backyard. To do something like this, probably. And rook c8 is not the priority now. Maybe queen c7 and rook a to d8, but after rook c8, rook d1, and next move is nearly fatal mistake, knight a5. Now, what can we say here? Knight a5 is taking piece away from the center, allowing obvious e5. e5, a lot of times, black allows and simply goes knight e8, and white doesn't have anything decisive. Correct way to play this position is knight takes, and bishop c6. Perhaps with some playable position. And again, this would have been a lot better to do without rook c8 move, as I already explained. So, rook c8, rook d1, knight a5, and in my opinion, after e5, black is lost. It's a typical Sicilian moves, but typical Sicilian moves, sometimes they get run over. You can get run over by the other side that will make typical Sicilian breakthroughs. And this is the case. Game was played just a couple of months ago, and it's totally lost for black after that. Knight e8, f5. Now, black is absolutely lost here. They played bishop h4, provoking g3. But let's see what are the other options to defend this position. Bishop h4, not very successful move, but knight c4. Let's see what would have happened there. F takes c, f takes c. Rook takes f8. Bishop takes f8. Bishop takes c4. Rook takes c4. And now queen f2. Rook f1 is the threat. And after queen e7, rook f1, de, knight f3. Those are the best moves made by black with a very, very bad position that they have. They cannot protect the e-pawn. Knight e5 is coming. Something like this, knight e5. And when rook moves anywhere, rook cannot move to some square like b4 because of bishop c5 will immediate devastation on queen takes c5, queen f7 check followed by checkmate. So rook has to retreat to c file, and it has to go to c7. And again, it cannot go to c8 because knight takes d7 and bishop on f8 is falling. So if in an only move rook c7, there may be bishop g5, and it's a perfect time for black to resign here. However, this did not happen. So what is the other move for black to play after f5, if not knight c4? There are no good moves. So bishop h4, g3, bishop g5, and here white could have delivered the final blow. White could have won simply with fe, and on fe Rook takes f8, Queen f2 check, and Rook f1. This game is over. There are two different checks on f7 and f8, completely devastate Black's position, and they suffer huge losses. And after fe, there is no other continue. So I'm trying to show how immediately after the opening, how one inaccurate move, how can lead to complete destruction. And this is typical for Najdorf Sicilian. So in this position after fe, if Black plays bishop takes e3, then e takes d. This is also completely over after knight f5, attacking the bishop, and on bishop a7, knight d5, and there is a threat of knight e7 check, winning rook, and knight on a5 is hanging. This is over as well. So after g3, bishop g5, white played bishop g5, and you can't really criticize white for making this move because this is also winning continuations. F takes e, f takes e, rook takes f8, king takes f8, and correct move here was simply taking pawn on d6, and Black cannot retake. And that would have won with extra pawn, a very strong pawn, terrible knight on a5, would have been completely winning. Black cannot retake on d6 because of knight f3 attacking queen and the knight, and on queen c5, queen d2, rook c6 has to be played. And let me tell you something. When you get to some position like this, normally you don't continue analyzing. Just take a look at Black's pieces. This is absolutely terrible picture that you would say some beginner played with Black. In this case, Grandmaster played it, but they were forced to this position after a couple of mistakes. Knight and bishop on d file are absolutely horrible. The pin knight on a5 is completely out of play, and Black has no prospects, and White has very comfortable selection of winning continuations. This, or maybe knight d4, and then rook f1 and queen f4. Well, position is easily won for White. So this did not happen. So after king takes f8, White played queen f2 check. But position is so bad for Black that White has a wide variety of winning continuations. King g8, rook f1, queen e7, bishop g4, now threatening bishop takes e6, and because of f8 square being on guard, h5, and here nice blow too. When you have pieces this active for White, there is a multiple tactical shots should be expected. Knight d5, knight must be taken, bishop takes d7, rook c7 was played. Well, what for Black to do? It's interesting, on queen takes d7, e6 ends the game immediately, because after queen e7, queen f7 check. Now queen has to take. White simply takes on f7 and makes a new queen. by f8. King f8 doesn't help because of knight e6 check, followed by f8. So after bishop takes d7, rook c7 was played, and bishop e6 check, king h7, queen e2. Well, we don't need to continue this. It's on queen g5 was played, bishop f5, and on king g8, knight e6. If you had here 5 different people could suggest moves for white, and they suggested all different moves, they all 5 could have been right. So position is so bad for black. So that's the end of this game. Amazing blow in such an early stage of the game. Just 2 invisible mistakes and the typical Sicilian type of moves. That's why it's dangerous to make moves typical for Sicilian defense in Najdorf in any position. You have to be always on a high alert for tactical refutation.